Hey guys, this is Illusion Podfix, and today we're going to be reading Green Through and Through by another _ Robin. The summary is, the spell goes wrong on Titan, and Peter Parker ends up in the Lazarus machine in Gotham. Every bat is chomping at the bit to adopt the tiny zombie boy, but they're just a tad bit distracted when a new spider-themed vigilante running around. Alright, without further ado, let's jump into the story. Today had been rough. You know what? Rough was an understatement. Tony hates space. It fucking sucks. Even though he would never admit it, it reminds him of the incident, which is something he'd rather not think or talk about, ever. Thank you very much. He knew trying to save the world by attempting suicide via nuclear missile could have lasting trauma. He wasn't going to dwell on it, he refused. Right now, Tony had slightly more pressing concerns like, the whole entire child that managed to sneak onto the spaceship and is now stranded in deep space. So his oncoming panic attack is going to have to wait. Said child seems to be taking the entire situation in stride and was currently striking up a conversation with the guy who had been holding a gun to his head not 3 minutes ago. Turning his back to the situation, he could only handle one heart attack at a time. Tony decided to seek out the good doctor. He finds Strange floating about a foot off the ground, muttering unintelligibly and what he thinks is Latin. Utterly uncaring, he shakes the wizard roughly by his shoulders, snapping him out of his trance. It probably isn't one of his brightest ideas, to be frank. He really couldn't care less right now. "Oi, Dumbledore," he says, giving the wizard's robed shoulder a final shake. "I want to call in my favor." Strange opens his eyes and sends a supremely unimpressed glare his way. "Your favor?" "Yup," he responds, popping the pea. "You know, for saving you from Squidward back there," he says, gesturing vaguely to the webbed-up hole in the hull of the ship. "I believe," he responds, closing his eyes, seeming to try and go back to his magic, "that it was Mr. Parker who saved me." Gandalf," Tony says, snapping his finger in front of the doctor's face. "You're not getting away that easy. Plus, the favor is for the kid." Titan was so cool. Peter had never been to another planet before. Well, duh. He should probably be freaking out, or celebrating, or something. I mean, just think about all the scientific ramifications. Wait, was he the first man on Titan? Nah, he's pretty sure Mr. Stark got off the donut mobile first. Damn it. But he doesn't want to embarrass himself in front of Dr. Strange, or the other Peter. And if he's totally freaking out anyway, then that's none of their business. He could distantly hear Mr. Stark and the Quill bickering, but he's not sure what about, as his hearing is somewhat muffled by all the dust and debris floating around. Plus, he and the alien lady, he thinks her name is Mantis, but he was kinda distracted by the alien gun that was pointed to his head at the time, and he would literally die of awkwardness if he had to ask her name now, are testing how high they could jump with reduced gravity, for science, of course. So he isn't really paying attention to the subject of their arguing. At least they weren't throwing punches anymore. They were almost as bad as the Daredevil and Punisher, or Daredevil and Deadpool, or Daredevil and most people, honestly. He had heard Mr. Stark and Dr. Strange whispering back and forth on the ship, thinking that they were out of range. He could hear a lot better since he and Matt started working together, but Mr. Stark didn't need to know that. But that doesn't mean it's okay to eavesdrop, so he tried to stay out of their conversation. After they got off the ship, the doctor had separated himself from the group, and Peter hadn't seen him or heard from him since. A shadow fell across his shoulder blades. "Hey, Dr. Strange, I was just wondering where you were," he says, much too invested in the silent staring contest he had accidentally started with Drax to turn around. "That's creepy as hell," the doctor muttered under his breath, much too quiet for human ears to pick up. "Mr. Parker," he starts, this time at a regular volume, though his voice had a tinge of something odd around the edges. Odd enough that Peter tears his watering eyes from the alien to get a proper look at the sorcerer. "I need your help with something quickly. Won't take a moment." Sure?" Ignoring the celebrating alien in the background, Peter looks over the sorcerer. His spine is rigid, though not the aloof confidence as it was on the ship. No, now his posture is filled with grim determination. Peter's not going to lie. It sets him on edge. Strange plucked a hair from his head, paying no mind to the squawk of surprise that escapes Peter's mouth. He stretches out the hair before making a series of complicated glowing shapes in the air. Once he's done, he turns to Peter with a sad weight in his eyes. "Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Parker." You're welcome." But the man is gone, leaving Peter thoroughly confused. Dennis was much bigger and badder than expected. Bigger than Goblin or Rhino. Stronger than both combined. It took all 7 of them to get him restrained, and Peter is straining. It's taking all his strength and stickiness to get a grip on the gauntlet, and it is stubbornly refusing to budge. Gold energy swims in his periphery. It's saying something, but he can't afford to fixate on it. Not now. Not when they are so close. So with every ounce of his focus centered on the gauntlet, he barely notices the crack underneath his fingertips, or how the golden whispers go mysteriously quiet. He's much too concentrated on every inch of the glove he can wiggle off the Titan's hand. "They're doing it," he thinks. everyone will be safe. Then Quill lands, and everything goes to shit. Thanos disappears through the blue portal, and everything that just happened settles in his gut. They lost, and it's all his fault. He doesn't blame Quill. If he had just discovered that Thanos had murdered Ned or May or hell even Flash, he would have done the same thing. No, he blames himself. If he was stronger or quicker, he could have stopped the Titan. If he had used his spider iron legs to push the Titan back and gain traction, he might have gotten it off in time. He's pulled from his thoughts by a shrill scream at the base of his skull that has him doubling over. His spine is on fire. He's certain of it. His mind thrums danger, danger, danger. And he has to go. He has to move. He has to run. But he can't. The threat, death, carnage is everywhere, utterly suffocating him. And Manta seems to pick up on it too. Something is happening. She manages to gasp before her heartbeat is just gone. Before he can think, Drax and Quill are gone too. He is desperately trying to sort through his panic and find their heartbeats, but only manages to hear his own blood rushing in his ears. They're dead. Oh my god, they're all... Doctor Strange breathes an apology before he's gone too. He staggers blindly towards Mr. Stark, desperate to see that he's still there, still alive. Mr. Stark? He gasps before his mentor's hands wrap around his torso, steadying him. His sight is smudged with tears and his whole body feels like it's been ripped apart. I don't feel so good. God, his veins feel like they're full of burning shards of glass. Was it like this for the others? He's so weak for crying the others all drifted off quietly. I don't know what's happening. He's cut off by a flash of pain searing his spine and he barely bites to scream. He's on the ground now. He doesn't know what to do. Mr. Stark is trying to help him but is clearly out of his depth. His brown eyes darting over Peter's face and body, desperately trying to help him. I don't want to go, he begs, in between the sobs. He doesn't know who he's begging to. Mr. Stark can't save him now. He doesn't think anyone can. He just wants it to be over. Golden figures and voices float in the air around him, murmuring, soothing, or at least trying to. Mr. Stark is trying to do the same thing. God, Peter feels so guilty. It's unfair to ask Tony to help. It's obvious that he's a lost cause. His lungs feel like they're filling with sand as he stares up at Tony and whispers, I'm sorry. His vision seems to splinter and crack before white overwhelms his senses. For a moment, everything is quiet and warm and golden in a way that seems to last forever. There are vague impressions of people he recognizes. Bucky, Sam, Danny, and Luke, lots of others that are too faint or unfamiliar to place. They're saying something important, but he's too tired and warm to care. Then he blinks and he's somewhere else. It's darker, louder, greener. He still feels distinctly weightless, but now it's not freeing like it was before. Now it's trapping, restricting. White-hot agony blooms through his body. He sucks in a breath and he can't breathe. He can't breathe. He thrashes, trying to escape, screaming and only managing to inhale the burning green that surrounds him. His fists connect with a wall, or maybe glass, he doesn't know. His world has shrunk to nothing but green, green, green is all he can see and taste and feel. And all he knows is that he has to get out. The glass, he now knows it's glass. He distinctly feels its shards in his hands. He doesn't care as long as it's not green. It shatters under his palms and he spills onto cold, hard floor. And he finally breathes, gulping sharp, full breaths of air. He lies there until his arms and legs stop spasming. He wants to lie there forever, long enough that he can't go back to the gold place, but he can't. The green isn't gone. It tints his vision and stuffs his ears. He's drowning in it all over again. He can feel it rising in his gut, shifting under his skin. His spider senses sing for him, go run, hide. He needs to get out, get safe. His legs carry him out of the room that he can't see or hear or smell, out into the world. Alright guys, and that is the end of chapter 1 of Green Through and Through by Another Fucking Robin. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you in the next chapter.